Well, everybody, it does appear to be happening. It seems like the technology is not going to give me any conniptions this week. It seems like I am not going to have a hissy fit because of technology. It seems like maybe this is going to be one of those occasions on a Wednesday evening at 7 p.m. when I can simply do what I want to do, which is click a couple of buttons, move the mouse around a little bit, show the exciting board, the introductory board, click the clapper, and say, welcome aboard, everybody, to this week's episode of Tent Talks Tunes. By cracky, it looks like it's working. And that makes me a very happy guy. I mean, I think I can be probably extremely entertaining, even if, and maybe especially when, I'm a little bit peeved. But it's better for my adrenaline levels when I'm not. The adrenaline cranks pretty high when I do Tent Talks Tunes as is. So we don't need to be all irritated, if you know what I mean, Jelly Bean. Let me adjust this camera here. Get the angles in the centering completely where they should be. Well, that's the wrong way. I've been doing this for I don't even know how many years at this point, and I still don't have the proportions right. Oh, it is so bizarre. Adam Zisser, hello, because I am indeed a happy guy. Alan Versapellis, good to see ya. Alan says it's been a very long day. Man, I wish sometimes that I had that problem. I've talked to older people in my life, and they've said many times that the older you get, the faster the days go by. And the older I get, the more I realize that that is 100% truth. The days just zip on past. And even the nights seem to go by a lot more quickly. It seems like I can lay down and go to sleep, and before I know it, I've waken up again. The perception of the passage of time. So I'm going to suggest, Alan, just a suggestion that if your day seems long, savor every minute, because it ain't going to do nothing but get shorter as the time goes on. I will drink a jug of Danbury Tap to that. We've got all kinds of fine, festive, fun folks signed up here. We got Brian, we got Moose, we got Sophia, we got the aforementioned Alan, and we got the aforementioned Mr. Zisser, and a few others whose names I can't see. Welcome aboard, everybody. Woo! We got a busy episode of Tent Talks Tunes this week, so I'm just gonna spread my wings and dive right in, to use mixed metaphors. Hello, Sean. Good to see you. Always a pleasure to know that my fine, friendly, felicitous viewers are with us. Why don't you put on my glasses to see who is here? Fable Pax Glass says, hey, man, don't know if you remember you, but I used to call you the Pit Boss. Yeah, I remember you. From the incredibly cold burg of North Tonawanda, New York. And that was actually probably in a January. I don't know the exact date, but yep, I run the risk of rambling here, but Pit Boss, welcome aboard the Tent Talks Tunes. I'm actually going to be talking about some very cold gigs I've played in my day. North Tonawanda was one of them, and you were there. So how's that for verisimilitude? Oh, yes. Yeah, we got a whole bunch of things going on right here. You know, I like to start off by checking the bulletin board and then by diving into the mail. We got an awful lot of mail to look at this week, so I'm going to make it as alacritive. I know that I behave with due alacrity, but does that mean that I am behaving in an alacritive fashion? Any of you people out there who are better with words than I am, let me know if I'm being alacritive by cutting to the chase. We do have some things on the bulletin board that hasn't changed too much lately. Got some things coming up in the future. For example, we have a super duper bona fide deluxe anti-scene gig in the great city of Philadelphia. April 4th with Eat the Turnbuckle, with Ringworm, with Fang, and probably with one or two others. It's going to be a gala event. And as you could probably guess, if Anti-Scene is going to go all the way out of their way to play Philadelphia, Anti-scene is pretty likely to play somewhere else in the Northeast. So, I don't know specifics. I don't know dates and times yet. I don't know locations. But I only bet when I know I'm going to win. And so I'm betting that there's going to be some more anti-scene action in the Northeast right around that time, April 4th. So all you people who live north of the Mason-Dixon, get your calendars out, whether it's a paper calendar, whether it's a thumb calendar, mark the date for potential action. Before that, between February 13th and March 3rd, another little band I'm in called Profanatica is going to be touring the East Coast. Yes, indeedy do. We did a super marathon around the entire US of A back last July and August, and it was fun and a half, productive and a quarter, good times had by all. So we are repeating the process, but on the East Coast this time. We are focusing our efforts on the East Coast. Excuse me. Starting on February 13th, I believe in Boston, going as far up north as Montreal, and then down as far south as Cape Coral, Florida, and then back up to New York City, and many, many points in between. So I'll be talking about that in a lot more detail, a lot more depth as time goes on. So 3 weeks on the road with Profanatica, featuring me playing the bass, and Anti-Scene in Philadelphia, and who even knows where else, April 4th. And, dude, we're only 3 days into 2024. We are only 3 days into 2024. So Jah only knows what the calendar is going to be filled with as the days tick off. Yep, better grab that jug and drink another toast to rock and roll productivity. Hello, Kurt Wargo, my main man from Danbury. Hello, Kurt, the radio warrior himself. I'll mention, too, this is not gig related, but I am leaving to go down to North Carolina in about 10 days for some exciting Anti-Scene business. As you know, Anti-Scene is a band that never stops. We're always writing, we're always recording, we're always brainstorming. I'm going down there to work on one, maybe two, definitely a couple of others on the side, so the numbers are really getting wild and fluid there. But we've got one big project we're working on, and we're going to hopefully record the whole blessed thing in one weekend in Charlotte. And we're going to do work on a couple of others, all for release, all exciting. So once again, all you Anti-Scene nut jobs out there, keep your eye on the road and your hand on the track, where the Destructo Beast, where the death train itself rides surely onward, not ever stopping. We got some product in the pipeline pour vous. Oh yes, Alan says correctly, there will never be enough Anti-Scene. Never enough. We all agree on that. A toast to never enough. All right. Now you guys have heard me bitch, gripe, moan, complain, wheedle, wheeze, whinge, and just generally whine about how empty the mailbox can be sometimes. Well, this time, my friend, whoo, you know, they say when it rains, it pours. It has been a deluge of mail over at my humble little post office box. Good old-fashioned P.O. Box 3626, Newtown, Connecticut, 06470. That's P.O. Box 3626, Newtown, Connecticut, 06470. Man, even to the point where I cheated just a little bit and pre-opened a lot of these packages, because it's fun to sit and watch people open mail. I do it a lot myself. My good pal Michael Pilmer has a YouTube channel where he goes on every Thursday and does just that. He opens mail. And it's really exciting because you never know what he's going to find in there. So we go on this sort of mutual voyage of discovery. But boy, howdy, I got so much stuff here that I did cheat a little bit. I pre-opened a bunch of these things. But I haven't looked in everything, even though I think I have inklings about what's in some of them. But why don't we all find out together? Let's find out. Well, this first one is from an artist who, as of today, officially, January 3rd, 2024, is a TPOS recording artist. And in this envelope right here, the one featuring the handwriting, P.O. Box 3626, Newtown, Connecticut 06470, written in her own hand, is the latest, newest, freshly minted artiste on the TPOS label. And I'm reaching into the envelope, and I'm pulling out the first ever copies. You're seeing them here first. I'm seeing them here first. Of course, this is my show, so I reserve the right to see them a few seconds before everybody else. But here you go, guys. Brand new CD by Pissy Chrissy. An album entitled Mind Cavity Seepage. This is TPOS number 258. That is number 258. Who is Pissy Chrissy, you might ask? Well, I'm going to tell you. Pissy Chrissy, on a good day, looks kind of like that. She's from the great city of Hickory, North Carolina. She writes lyrics. She sings, as you might have guessed by her name. She's pissed off. And I'll be honest, out of the, let's see, what do we got here? 11 songs on this album, I wrote the music for 8. So what do you know? I have a vested interest in this album. But I'm going to tell you guys right now, even if I didn't appear as a musician on this record, I've dug her work for a long time. Only Pissy Chrissy would come up with a bizarre AI-generated image like that, which does have meaning. So I'm very happy to be part of this one. Limited edition of 30, each one numbered by hand. I got a few. They are right here. Officially available today. Brand new on TPOS. Very exciting. I haven't listed it on my Discogs or my eBay yet. And considering that I only really have 2 to sell, I might not. You might want to hit me up in person, en vivo, if you want copies of these very limited Pissy Chrissy CDs with music by me. Yes, even if I didn't do the music on it, I'd like it. That's why it's on TPOS. Enough said. Also a brand new hot release on TPOS. This one came out 2 days ago. Yous have heard me talk a lot about my good pal Tim Holhouse from England. Tim from England has a brand new album out. And guess what? It's on vinyl. It's on CD. It's called Year. And it is the latest installment in his series of 26 albums. 26 full-length albums, each one named after a letter of the alphabet. And this is why. And I'll tell you guys, I've toured with Tim all over the U.S. I've toured with Tim in England. We've done shows in France and Belgium. Tim is one of my favorite active musicians on the planet. He's a hell of a dude. Great performer. Non-stop. He's actually touring right now in Canada. He will be doing the Western U.S. pretty soon. If you have any chance to go see him, go see him. I would not spend so much time on the road with the dude if I didn't really dig his stuff. And nor would I go out of my way to release stuff on my label by Tim. So here it is, brand new, full-length LP. Came out on January 1st. Pressed in England. Don't know if you guys can see the gorgeous shade of green vinyl that it's on. 1,000 copies pressed. It's actually a co-release between myself, Real Records in England, and Pink Lemonade Records in Canada. Everybody got a little piece of the action. So I have 100 copies on vinyl and a short stack of CDs. So Malcolm Tent speaks the truth. I really dig Tim Holhouse, and I'm really glad to have this new full-length on TPOS. You want it? Talk to me. It is on Discogs. So So you can go that way if you want. Man, isn't that great? 2 releases in the course of 2 days. And this year's not even 3 days old. Pissy Chrissy and Tim Holhouse. Man, I love being a record mogul. I love being a record mogul. It is so much fun. So much fun to be a record mogul. Moose Roberts, who is not on TPOS, but who is a super cool dude and a very talented musician in his own right, says he swears he's putting my package in the mail today. Oh, by Friday. All right, Moose, get it on the loose. We want to hear your musical juice. You got plenty from which to choose. And I'm happy to talk about it because I do like your stuff. I'll drink to some of that. All right, let's see what else is going on here. Well, speaking of people who are not on TPOS, yet very exciting, excuse me, I'm always delighted to see a package in the mail with handwriting. Real, honest-to-gosh script written with fingers, written with pens and markers. And what you know, here's another one. Look at that. Handwritten, Malcolm Tent, P.O. Box 3626, Newtown, Connecticut, 06470. You can tell by the size and the shape of it, it's probably not a full-length album. Proportionately, it does not stack to that of a full-length album. But if you measure it against a CD, you can probably guess it's a CD. And since I knew who this was from, I kind of knew what was in it. And I did pre-open it, but now I'm opening it and taking a look at it legit for real. Oh, check it out. I love this. I love it. Handwritten note. Handwritten note. I'm not going to read it on the air because there's a lot of it. But here it is. A brand new album by Sophia Swangle. Yes, indeed. Deny a media blackout in peacetime, it says on the back. A better shade of you, it says on the front. And that is Inverse Proportions. I'm going to tell you right now, I did not listen to the CD because I just opened it, but I did take the liberties of playing this album on Bandcamp last night, and it's good. It rocks. It's really good. Chaotic beats, cool bass lines, layers and layers of sound, all sung by a young lady with a devolved idea who is on the go. So I really dig this new album by Sophia. Thank you, Sophia, for sending it to me. And maybe, Sophia, if you want to post a link to the Bandcamp or to any other methods of attaining this, either on physical media or by download, please do. I am hereby inviting you to wash the brains of those watching Tent Talks Tunes so you can make them see it your way and hear it your way. Let's take a look at the package, shall we? It sounded great on Bandcamp. It'll sound even better when I enjoy using the physical medium. I mean, this is what I love about physical media. It's interactive. You have to interact with it. Gatefold art. Look at that. Hand-done disc art. Deluxe fold-out sleeve. Yeah, kids, we're cranking now. Dude, Sophia Swangle, Pissy Chrissy, Tim Holhouse. This has been a very exciting day for listening. And I'll say it again, this year is only 3 days old. What the fug? How much excitement can an old codger take? We're testing the limits here on Tent Talks Tunes. I have to turn the volume down on my phone because I use the phone as a vector for broadcasting. And in attempting to do so, I just completely screwed the picture up. Let's get the picture back to where it should be. You guys might like that close-up, but even my ego's not that big. We got to zoom out a little bit, give you some breathing space here, because it does get really intense here on Tent Talks Tunes. With a 3 up, 3 down roster of artists like that I just talked about. Whew. Any wonder I'm sweating? What else did we get in the mail? We've opened up with Tim Holhouse, Pissy Chrissy, and Sophia Swangle. Here's a box. Yeah, I know what's in this one. I know what's in this one. Sure, I got to tell you, I really do really like handwritten labels. But in a pinch, and this thing is still making noise. I gotta stop it. Hope you guys will bear with me while I wrestle with technology. Always wrestling with technology. It seems like whenever I try to press the volume button down... All right, there we go. This is live, kids. Live on the dreaded Facebook. And archived forever on my YouTube channel. Every single mistake, every blip, every burp, every blarp, archived forever on my YouTube channel. You can relive them as often as you want. You can put them on loop. Whatever it is you kids do, go for it. Somebody sent me a message. I got to minimize that because I'm a busy man. Yes, Sophia, that is a big jug of water. I have maintained for many, many years that a gallon a day keeps the AMA quack far away. The formula that I use is 1 ounce of water per 1 pound of body weight every single day. And I officially now clock in at 139 pounds. A gallon of water is 128 ounces. So I just did the math for you. You don't even have to. I did the math. That's what we call service here on Tent Talks Tunes. So yeah, man, I love them handwritten labels, but you know what? A computer printed label will do in a pinch. Malcolm Tent, P.O. Box 3626, Newtown, Connecticut 06470. That I believe is the Arial Black font. Or maybe it's Arial but rendered bold. I'm not sure. Either way, it's a great font. This is from my pal Mark Robinson out in Ohio. How ironic enough. Who knows the joke? Who knows the Ohio joke? Anybody out there know the Ohio joke? I'm going to pause for a second and see if anybody wants to post in writing in the comments section the Ohio joke. Who out there knows the Ohio joke? If anybody types in the setup for the Ohio joke, I'll supply the punchline, okay? How about that? Oop, Grant Den, my old bandmate Grant, he's taking the bull by the horns. We will sort of paraphrase Grant and Adam and, of course, Devo. I got a rhyme that comes in a riddle. Was round on the ends and high in the middle. Ohio. Yes. So from Ohio, my good pal, Mark Robinson. You've heard me talk about Mark Robinson because he's the guy who runs Ponk Media. And amongst the many great releases on Ponk Media are a couple that I have licensed for myself for release on my label, TPOS. One of them is Tiny Tim. Tiny Tim. The other is another classic outsider, G.G. Allen. We're both fans of the music that we release. I'm a huge fan of G.G. Allen, and I'm a huge fan of Tiny Tim. I'm also a big old fan of barter and trade, so when I found out that Mark Robinson had some spare records by Tiny Tim, I proposed a trade. The trade was initiated. I sent him some records. He sent me some records. This is exciting stuff. In a box unto itself, a self-contained, instant Tiny Tim record collection. Oh boy, look at all these Tiny Tim records. Half a dozen Tiny Tim records. Once I really fully got to appreciate the legitimate, I'm not joking here, Tent Talks Tunes is a lighthearted program, and there's a lot of wit and humor and falderall floating in the air, but I take my music very seriously. Very seriously. And once I appreciated just how legit Tiny Tim was as an artist, I did what I always do. I just pinched my nose and dived right in, and have gotten into the universe, the strange, wonderful universe of Tiny Tim. And so that means, you know, I got to collect all the records. Whew! Which in the case of Tiny Tim is no little feat. That guy put out a lot of damn records. Everybody, of course, knows, you know, Tiptoe Through the Tulips. Excuse me, big hit in 1968. But, you know, Tiny Tim never stopped recording and releasing music. He had records out, I think it's pretty accurate to say, every single year between 1968 and his death, and I think it was 1995, I'm not sure. But he was a non-stop recording artist. He was always releasing records, either on his own label or his own labels or through others. Sometimes major labels, sometimes independent labels. He always put out music. And, you know, you can say whatever you want about the quality of each release, but he never, ever held back. He always put everything he had into anything he did. And to me, that's the mark of a real artist. He was not a faker. Excuse me. He was not a put-on. He was legit. And yes, one of his specialties was novelty records, but it's a niche that he took very seriously. And so, man, to get half a dozen Tiny Tim records at once, that's pretty good. And a lot of these I'd never seen or heard before. For example, he put something out on Dionne Warwick's record label, Scepter Records. This is Am I Just Another Pretty Face? Backed with the movies. This came out in 1972. And Scepter was a very large independent label. Great production values, great songwriting. Tiny is in top form. It's very heavy on the novelty side of things, but still a good record, and I'm still glad to have it. This one, man, this one's totally nuts. Tiny actually had a big resurgence in the 80s in Australia. He had a real good run in Australia in the 80s. And this is one of those records that, you know, might just classify as a pure novelty record. But man, the way he delivers his version of Highway to Hell by AC/DC, you gotta hear it to believe it. It is incredible. It is intense. And then the B-side, a traditional gospel number called The Last Mile of the Way. Tiny Tim was a very deeply religious man, and he sings this song with all of his heart. And I'm sure that when he did Highway to Hell, he definitely did it from his own perspective as a religious dude. And when you hear it framed that way, the song takes on a whole other meaning. Very cool. The mark of a true artist. Australian pressing. Never came out anywhere else but Australia. Here's another cool Australian pressing by Tiny Tim. From his third and extremely obscure album that came out on Reprise Records in the US. It was a Tiny Tim children's record. And this one is Mickey the Monkey. This is on a variant of the Reprise label I've never seen before with very little information on it. So that's pretty cool. And then we got, from 1969, his second album, a white label promo of, I'll say it again concerning his delivery. You have never heard Great Balls of Fire by Jerry Lee Lewis until you've heard Tiny Tim do it. Enough said. This is a vocal performance for all time. Absolutely amazing. And then a really wonderful, straightforward rendition of As Time Goes By. The guy was an artist. He covered a lot of territory. And then going back to Australia, and what I said earlier about the major labels, he actually had records come out on the major labels in Australia in the 80s, including this license job on Epic. Everybody knows Epic. Tiptoe to the Gas Pumps on Epic Australia. Pretty wild, man. Novelty song. Good novelty song. And of course, for the collecting completists like myself, we have the US version, which came out on Clouds Records, which was a TK subsidiary, which I'm sure you know. You know, TK Casey and the Sunshine Band primarily. But they had Tiny Tim on there. And Tiptoe to the Gas Pumps. Thank you, Grant, for posting that link to Tiny Tim's Great Balls of Fire. I cannot recommend it enough. After I'm done, of course, click that link and listen to Tiny Tim doing Jerry Lee Lewis. I guarantee you've never heard anything like it before. Produced by Richard Perry, who later had a very long, and he might even still be at it, very long and fruitful production career, the Pointer Sisters being one of his main acts, but he produced a lot of Ringo Starr's earliest hits. He had the Planet record label. Very illustrious career by Richard Perry, and he basically got started by doing the first 3 Tiny Tim albums. How cool is that? Pretty darn cool, I say. Excuse me, folks. Got another message coming in. I love it when people message me, but I can't reply to your messages while I'm on live. I'm a little bit preoccupied. So please excuse me. I will answer your message later. Well, needless to say, if you want to get the Tiny Tim Prisoner of Love album as released on TPOS by myself, go to Discogs, go to eBay. I got them listed right there. And if you want to hear a lot of other stuff, like for example, you're checking out either Pissy Chrissy on Bandcamp, or you're checking out Sophia Swangle on Bandcamp. Maybe you want to check out some TPOS artists on Bandcamp. There's a lot of good stuff over there. Not just Pissy Chrissy, not just Sophia Swangle, but yeah, TPOS artists. I'm on Bandcamp. For gosh sakes, get over to Bandcamp now. You're missing a lot of good stuff. Just do it. Just do it. Wow. I haven't even put a real dent in the mail. There is still so much more here, but I'm already half hour into it. You know what? I'll save some for next week on 10 Talks Tunes, because a full mailbox is a happy mailbox, but an overfull mailbox, it leads to gluttony. And we don't want to stray off the path of what I'm going to talk about here as my official 10 Talks Tunes topic, which is how to make a DIY album. And I'm sure a lot of you people out there already know about this. Excuse me again. Maybe some of you don't know about it and would like to know. Maybe those of you who do already know about it would like to compare notes. Maybe some of you people can relate to what I'm saying here. Plus, as is almost always the case with DIY releases, there's a good story behind it. Yeah, Moose Roberts is on Bandcamp too. Alan Versapellis, are you on Bandcamp? If you are, show us your link. Anybody else on Bandcamp? Show us your links. I mean, yeah, this is my show. Yeah, that's my Bandcamp and my record label. But hey, do you remember when they used to say, we're all in this together, with a big saccharine smile? Well, we DIY people are doing it all ourselves. So yeah, let's fly our own flags. Let's toot our own horns. Let's go swimming in our own pools, shall we? Because as Moose just said, DIY is the best. All good music comes from the underground. Andy Miller from the great Knowledge is for Fools. I've had the pleasure of sharing the stage with Andy Miller and Knowledge is for Fools several times. Andy Miller has the distinction of being the first, actually the very first, and one of the only people who I've allowed to draw blood from me on stage. It's only happened twice ever. Andy Miller was the first. Yes, Andy drew blood from me on stage. And it was in San Antonio, Texas. And I'll tell that story someday, and I'll also tell the story of the second time if you guys really want to hear it. If you guys aren't too squeamish, what do you think? Are you guys too squeamish for me to one day tell the story of the 2 times that I allowed someone to draw blood from me on stage? Can I see some thumbs ups? Can I see some smiley faces? Can I see some hearts and flowers? Yeah, there they are. Actually, here's one. Anybody who definitely for sure wants to hear the story of the 2 times that I allowed someone to draw blood from me, post a kitty cat icon. A kitty cat icon. I'm seeing the hearts and I'm seeing the thumbs, but I want to know for darn sure that we're all talking about the same thing, that we're on the same screen here. When I see those kitty cat icons, I'll know for sure that you guys are a real bloodthirsty, vicious, cannibalistic bunch of viewers, and that you really do want the gory, sordid, nasty details of the hideous times that I bled on stage. And of course, Sophia's the first one to post a big fat kitty cat. And you know what? I've talked about fate before. Oh, Chrissy, Pissy Chrissy herself. Yeah, big fat kitty cat. Yep. Oh boy. Andy Miller, Vaughn, Adam. And we all know that fate moves in mysterious ways. We all know that a lot of people spend their lives looking for a sign. People want omens. People want auguries. Y'all want an omen? You want auguries? You want a sign? The sign just hopped onto my desk over yonder. I'm going to reach out and grab the sign. Are you ready? Here comes the sign. There he is, the sign himself. The message from heaven right there, delivered unto us in the person of Harry the cat. I asked for a kitty cat, and here's the kitty cat. Someone's telling me that you rapacious, meat-eating, sirloin pounding, hamburger cooking, professional wrestling loving, absolutely vicious bunch really want to hear the story of how I bled on stage as I sit here running my hands across this cute kitty. Boy, life is just full of irony, isn't it? Well, Harry's here, and I can definitely take a hint. So, all right, on Tent Talks Tunes, someday in the future, I'll talk about the blood that I shed on stage. And it's gonna be nasty. Moose, I see you posted a little chick. I know what you meant. I know what you meant. It's okay. So anyway, why am I going to talk about the making of a DIY album? What the fudge sickles? Why am I doing this? Why? Well, because it's January. It's cold. And as the pit boss just reminded me, I've played a couple of really cold gigs in my day. And this very much goes into the whole DIY ethic. When you're doing stuff yourself, when you book tours yourself, and you're dealing with DIY venues and art spaces and, living rooms and stuff like that, you never know what you're going to get. You never know what you're going to get. That's part of the DIY roulette. So anyway, one of the first runs of shows I booked for myself was in January, and it had me going out west into New York State, where I played North Tonawanda, New York. Excuse me. North Tonawanda, north of Buffalo, right there by Lake Erie, where the winds blow cold, where the winters are hardcore. I remember when I was a little kid, there was a TV commercial for some kind of like cold medicine. And the entire commercial consisted of scenes from a Buffalo, New York winter. And living in South Florida, where people got super duper bundled up and turned on the heat once it got down to 59 degrees, that looked like hell on earth. Well, I'm here to tell you guys that I like Buffalo. Buffalo's a cool town. I've had some really good times in Buffalo. Good people, good gigs. North Tonawanda. Had a great gig in North Tonawanda. That's where I met the boss. But it was a DIY venue over an auto body repair shop in one of those old refurbished warehouses. No heat. No heat. It was cold in there. Cold in January, north of Buffalo, New York, on the shores of Lake Erie. Mofo was cold. No heat. Neil knows. Neil was at the North Tonawanda gig. Will you back me up, Neil? Tell me. Was it or was it not cold in that venue? You know, we all had a good time. It was a great show. A lot of people came out. And quite often, you could walk into a cold venue, and with enough people there, it'll warm up. I played a gig in the great city of Leeds, England. That was like that in November. Actually, I'll take that back. Nottingham, England. You know, the Nottingham Forest, Robin Hood and all that good stuff. I played a really cool show in Nottingham, England in November. And that room was cold. But we got like, I don't know, 65, 70 people in there, and it warmed up very nicely. Great show. And then everybody left at the end of the show, and it was cold again. It was a cold for Schluggener room, dude. This venue in North Tonawanda, though, it being an old warehouse or maybe a factory, I don't remember exactly which, it wasn't possible to warm the place up because it's a huge, giant open space. And so, there was like probably 25, 30 people there. And, you know, I played, the other people played, everybody had a good time, but it was cold. And of course, my stage gear is usually like some kind of a gold lame shirt or a silver lame shirt, skin-tight jeans, not very warm. But I was determined to put on the best show I could, which meant looking the best I could. So I went out there with nothing but a silver lame shirt and a pair of stretch jeans, and I rocked out in that cold space. And when the show was over, I did my duty, and I hung out in that cold space. There was no way I was going to be seen in plain clothes. I have too much respect for the stage, too much love for stagecraft, to go around looking like just a dude before or after a show. So, you know, I did it. I did it. And the fact that we have here tonight on Tent Talks Tunes, not one but two people who were at that fateful show many years later, attests, I think, to the power of stagecraft and doing the job right. Can I get an amen on that? Amen to the art of stagecraft and the fact that when you're on that stage, you must give it everything you've got. That is your job as a performer. Doesn't matter if there's one person there or 1,000,001 people, your job is to deliver. So I delivered. Thank you, Neil, and thank you, Pit Boss, for being here tonight. That was like, what, 14 years ago? 15 years ago? 13 years ago? Cry, cry. That wasn't the coldest gig I ever played. No, no, no. That was not the coldest gig I ever played. Now let me stretch my memory a little bit. Just a little bit here. Not the coldest gig. There was another extremely cold gig in Swansea in the great country of Wales. That was cold. That was in another unheated venue in November. And kind of the same deal. Big, empty, drafty room. Didn't matter how many people you put in there, that sucker was not going to warm up. So that was a cold show as well. But still, the single coldest gig I've ever played in my entire life was 14 years ago yesterday in Brooklyn, New York, at a venue called Shea Stadium. And that was my fabulous noise band, Ultrabunny, who, just like Knowledge is for Fools, and like Moose Roberts, and like Sophia Swangle, and like Pissy Chrissy, and like a whole host of others, is on Bandcamp. Look us up. We rock. Ultrabunny gig at this DIY venue called Shea Stadium in Brooklyn. And I remember it was particularly cold that night. I will never forget this. It was below freezing with a stiff wind coming off the river, off the East River. It was cold and it was windy. So that cold was just slicing through everybody. But once again, all credit due, man. It was us and a couple other bands. They had a DJ there. People came out. And even though the venue was 100% not heated, they stuck around for the whole show. My brothers and sisters, my brethren and sisterns, it was cold in that venue. Cold to the point where we saw our breath in the air. Cold to where, never mind what I just said about stagecraft and looking good, there was no way I was going to unbundle. And neither were the other guys in Ultrabunny. It was one of the very, very few shows we ever played in plain clothes. Ultrabunny always likes to look good on stage, if not downright weird. But that night, we were unanimous. Fug this, we're staying in our civvies. How cold was it, besides being able to see our breath in the air? It was so cold that our guitar cables didn't want to unwind because they were so cold and stiff. How cold was it? Our smoke machine froze. That's how cold it was. You can turn on a smoke machine and it'll warm up. But the smoke solution was frozen. No smoke machine because it was too cold. How cold was it? Our guitar player, Bobby Bunny's, his pedals weren't working because it was so cold. How cold was it? That my fingers on the neck of my bass guitar were alternately numb and fiery. My fingers were either numb or they felt like they were on fire. That's how nuts it was in there. And once again, I give credit to everybody involved, man. The bands all played. The DJ spun records. The audience, they stuck it out as long as they could. We were the last band on. And you know what? Normally I'll get mildly testy if somebody walks out during my set or when my band is playing. But in this case, I was like, you know what? You guys just go ahead. Just go home. It's okay. Just go home. We'll be following you as soon as we possibly can to our home. Just get out of here. Get warm. You did all right. Just go. I let him go. I willfully let him go. Willingly let him go. It's okay. As Vaughn says, yes, named after the Cuban revolutionary Shea Stadium. Brilliant. If any of you people have watched the Ruddles documentary, you'll get it. Anyway, in spite of, because of, I don't know, either in spite of or because of those dire circumstances, we ended up really kicking some dust. It was a great performance. And thankfully, the Malcolm Tent Feud unit, the tape recorder, did not malfunction. It worked, got the whole set on tape. We played the next night, 14 years ago today, in a DIY venue called the Mill Hill Basement in Trenton, New Jersey. Another great show. Good turnout. It was warm inside. Oh my God, they had heat in this place. Thank you for the heat. And it was a really weird show because Ultrabunny, everything that we do is all improv. We make it up as we go along. We've got a couple of set pieces. We've got a couple of riffs that we'll drag out more than once. But even when we do these songs, they're all improv. We don't know how they're going to go. Even one of our set pieces, like Squirrel Attack, for example, it might be 3 minutes long, it might be 13 minutes long. And there could be anything happening in the middle of it. We don't know. We just count 4 and go. And this night at the Mill Hill Basement was one of those instances. Maybe some of you guys know what it's like out there. We got a good crowd. We're ready to play. It's all improv. The drummer counts off 1, 2, 3, 4, and my brain just went. It just shut down. I'm the bass player, and I lay down all the riffs that everything is built around. I just stood there like a complete dummy. I had nothing in my mind. I didn't know what to play. Fingers froze, brain froze. Maybe it was a residual effect from the previous night, and I hadn't thought out all the way. But I couldn't think of a single thing to play on the bass. Luckily, our drummer was very quick on the draw, so he started a drum beat, and that like snapped me back into reality, and I was able to concoct a bass line based on his drum beat. Ended up being a really good bass line, and we ended up kicking the set off in good form, played a really good show, worked out, all was good. The tape recorder once again worked, everything's fine. So now I've got 2 really good recordings of 2 really good performances, and anybody who knows me knows that I record everything, and especially with a group like Ultrabunny, when it's all improv, it's important to document this stuff, because these moments will never be repeated. It's like Seals and Crofts said, "We may never pass this way again. We may never pass this way again." And in the case of Ultrabunny, we never will. So I got these performances. I'm like, you know what? Ultrabunny has never done a full-length album. We've done EPs, we've done tons of cassettes and CDs. How about full-length vinyl on TPOS? And actually, I'll take that back. We did do one full-length album on the late, great Noiseville label. But I wanted to do one on TPOS, and I wanted to do it with a specific aesthetic. You might remember the watchword of the day so far has been DIY. DIY. TPOS has always been a DIY label. And I just love the aesthetic. This also ties into my love of the vintage bootleg LPs of the 1970s, which, as often as not, were packaged in like a plain sleeve with an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper glued on to the cover, or not even glued on, just stuck in and then shrink wrapped. Excuse me, with blank labels. It was a whole look. And I always really liked that look. So I thought, you know what? Let's do an Ultrabunny record that way. Let's take a gig that was genuinely painful to play, and one that could have been a complete disaster but wasn't, along with one from our hometown of Danbury, Connecticut, and another one, and let's make an album of it. So I took my humble, self-recorded tapes, and if I remember correctly, they were all recorded on my Tascam cassette 4-track. Pretty sure that was the medium I was using at the time. Mixed them to the best of my abilities, made a master file, sent them off to the pressing plant, and placed an order for an album called Ultrabunny. Depending on who you ask. If you ask me, it's called Volume Merchants. If you ask Bobby Bunny, it's called Unsafe at Any Age. Either way, it's an album. And that's kind of the way Ultrabunny works. Bob and I, Bobby Bunny, and I each have Like, we've got a very common musical vision, but our artistic visions are very different from each other. He's always got one idea of how an album should be presented. I've always got another. And it always ends up in being a complete 50-50 split down the middle compromise. So I wanted to call the album Volume Merchants. He wanted to call it Unsafe at Any Age. So we compromised. We called one side Volume Merchants. We called the other side Unsafe at Any Age. How easy was that? Two great concepts on two great sides of vinyl. And the photo on the back is a photo that I'm very proud of. That is the genuine, honest-to-God reaction to an audience at an Ultrabunny concert. That photo was not staged. It was not posed. We didn't ask these people to act that way. That is exactly how they reacted when we hit the stage. And I'm especially proud of the fact that this guy right here, this poor guy cowering in the corner, that guy was the buyer for other music in New York City. New York City's premier avant-garde record store. They specialized in the weird stuff. And that's him at an Ultrabunny show. Very proud of that. And it's got fabulous songs on it. It's got Small War, Medium War, Large War, My War, Your War, Fight War, Not Wars, Cold War, Hot War, Not War. All from those humble 4-track tapes. Notice the glued-on artwork. Hand-glued with a glue stick by myself. Also glued on. And I figured as long as I'm at the print shop and I'm printing these silly inserts, why just do one when you can do a few different ones? So that one's one. That one's the other. Kind of like Led Zeppelin. The backs remain the same. Each one hand-numbered by myself because I love that aesthetic. Hand-numbered. It gives it the personal touch. And just like the great bootleg albums of the 70s, completely blank labels. So you can't tell which one is Volume Merchants and which one is Unsafe at Any Age. Ha ha ha. And really, that's all it takes. That's all you need to do an album. You go to the print shop, run off a bunch of pieces of paper that you glue to a blank cover. Blank labels, black vinyl, and the willingness and the ability to sit down and glue the whole thing together. Take the record, shove it in the sleeve, and there you go. You've just made an album. Just like that. Nothing recorded in a studio, all home recorded. And especially nowadays, with the digital audio workstation that's available to people for free a lot of times, dude, there's no excuse. No excuse at all. Now, just looking at my fellow travelers, Moose Roberts records all of his stuff that way. Pissy Chrissy did it her way. Sophia Swangle did it that way as well. If I missed anybody who posted links, I'm sorry. Actually, let's look over here and scroll up a little bit. I want to make sure I'm given equal and fair time. Now, Knowledge is for Fools. Those guys are professionals. They record their stuff in studios, and their stuff kicks ass. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Arm Delight Rifles, my good pal James Pogo. I have a feeling they're a little bit pro, maybe. But you know what? That's good. There's room for everybody. Alan, DIY or what? The people want to know. The punchline being, the point being, I'm not saying that one is better than the other. I'm saying that you can do it any way you want. You can go into a studio and go pro. You can have a finalized, professionally manufactured product. Or you can sit there with a glue stick and do it yourself. It's all valid. It's all good. And that's how I took the pain and the suffering of playing in below freezing temperatures at a DIY venue on the windy East River in Brooklyn, I took that lemon and made some lemonade. And to this day, I am extremely proud, thrilled, and happy with this record. We've done a lot of stuff, and it's all good. Everything Ultrabunny's ever done floats my boat. But I think, honestly, I think this is the best thing we've ever done. I really, really love this record. And what can I tell you? I'm sure it's out there somewhere. If you want to get it on vinyl from me, talk to me. I'm pretty sure if you go to ultrabunny.com or bunnybrains.com, it's there. It can be found. But I love that record. DIY from start to finish. And the frigid temperatures couldn't stop it. And that's basically it. That's the theme, the theory, and the topic of this week's Tent Talks Tunes. So I want to thank everybody. Thank you all for tuning in. I love knowing you guys are out there and that you're watching and that you actually do want to hear and see what I got to do and share my stories. I love seeing and hearing what you guys do. We're all musicians. We all kick ass. We all rule. So keep cranking them out, kids. Don't ever stop. I have no intentions to. I'm 59 years old, baby. It's too late to stop now. So why stop? Lord willing and the creeks don't rise, I'll be back in about 167 hours' time. So until we meet again, this is Malcolm Tent saying so long from the Nutmeg State.